Hey guys, it's the Conic, and in this one I wanted to give a quick update on the build's progression so far, as I will not have the time to keep making daily updates, as you probably noticed. For those that don't know, I recently got a job, and this effectively means that I have less time to make videos and potentially stream. So I'm going to be trying to make these videos every so often, but just a heads up. Now, for the update on the builds, we've actually made a lot of changes and we've done a lot of testing to come up to the point we are at now. Shout out to two different comments or commenters that suggested things to test. Firstly was I think his name is Richard Dobo, something like that, and he said to test temporary minion and if wolves counted as temporary minions, because that would effectively mean we can get +2 on the tree. Now, this was something that I wanted to test eventually, but the more I played the season, the more I was like, yeah, there's no way they would allow that, so I just didn't. Turns out they are considered temporary minions because they have the duration tag on pounds. So we are taking the +2 to maximum moves on the tree close to, I believe it's Ancestral Bond. The Ancestral Bond, this guy right here. And then we're also pathed to +2 limit of temporary minions over by known bio, which is an oracle notable. So that gave us 4 extra wolves, and as you can see, we're currently sitting at 12 pounds wolves and 7 wolf pack, which is a lot of wolves. A lot of wolves, 19 to be exact. And then the second commenter, I don't know how to say the name, he's Zombonargi or something like that, I don't know. He suggested to use Second Wind on Lunar Blessing because apparently I think this is a bug. It shouldn't work this way, but it does. And basically, if you put Second Wind on your Lunar Blessing, what effectively happens is once you use a charge and it goes off cooldown, if you use the second charge, your first charge is ticking, its cooldown is refreshing all of a sudden, even though the gem itself has a description, cooldown does not recover during buff effect. So I think it's a bug, but currently it works, and because of it, we actually now have 100% uptime on Lunar Blessing, and we don't need to scale any amount of CDR because just with how much rage we have and all the scaling is just up permanently. Basically, all we have to do is recast it every 20 something seconds. To be precise, every 24 seconds we have to recast it, and we just have permanent ulti now. So those two were the biggest changes. Not biggest changes, but they're very good changes. So shout out to the commenters that suggested them. Now let's move on to the skill tree section, and as usual, I'm going to be going through the changes by bit. So what are the biggest changes we've made since the last one? I think we've already covered some of it, which is going for +2. But going for +2 meant dropping certain things. Also, we're now scaling a bit of armor, and armor applies to early damage, because getting to around tier 9, tier 10, I started feeling a bit squishy. I was getting one shot, so I had to spec a bit more into defenses. So we now have a bit of armor scaling on our tree. We also have a max of 85 max rage, but that is more because gear than anything. And we're also trying this node out since we're in this region, and I'll go through the thought process in the gear section, but I am probably going to remove this and drop this scaling entirely. But I will talk about it just in case you feel inspired and there's some sources of damages extra phase that actually I didn't consider. But in any case, that covers the tree for the most part. We made a POB yesterday that I haven't linked yet. Basically, that one is going to be what I think I'm going to go defensively in the end game, and it's going to be like mana stacking once we get our 4th ascendancy and stuff like that, and that's going to be harmony within. But because of the 15% less life and 15% less mana, I'm on the fence on this one. I'll be honest, I'm very on the fence, but we'll see. And of course, we went lesser harm as our 3rd ascendancy, which I don't think I had in the last video. Now for the gear section, this is, I would say, closer to where I've made the most changes now. Previously, I was just using a blank T1, just a blank spirit chest with no stats, essentially. So now I actually have armor coming from here, and spirit that I was able to find one with increased spirit reservation of skills. And this one was, it cost me 50 exalt on day 3 or something. It was a steal for the time. So this is a big upgrade for me. And then this was the most recent upgrade I am actually did this last stream, like yesterday night. For this one, the idea is leeches face damage as mana is mandatory, but I wanted a +7 that had leech as mana and good flat damage. But other than that, we also try to get gain percent of damage as extra physical damage. Why did we try to get that guy? The idea behind getting that mod was I was trying to get my Lunar Blessing, which is my ultimate, to do some damage as extra physical because it converts all its damage to cold damage currently. But if you're able to get damage as extra physical, even if you don't scale it, that just means you now have some physical damage being done with Lunar Blessing because that does not get reconverted. And the idea is physical damage is typically locked to, or leech is typically locked to physical damage. So by having physical damage, I would be able to leech, life leech, mana leech, you name it. That's why this has both of them. And that is why we have the node I mentioned earlier. Now, this I don't think I would recommend anymore because it still just felt very rough. Like it wasn't really doing a lot when it came to actual leeching. But comes yesterday's patch, the hotfix, and they announced that they were going to add this support gem to the currency exchange. Now this support gem, I saw it the moment I saw it, I was looking for it and I saw it was on the currency exchange, so I figured it just was data mined and wasn't in the game. Turns out it just wasn't listed in currency exchange. So here it is. This one makes it so mana leech is based off of elemental damage instead of physical damage. And what this effectively means is once we ulti, so long as we're hitting things and the beams have things to land on, we have infinite mana. We're just regenerating all our mana essentially. It feels very, very comfortable. Prior to this support, we were having to spam mana flats and that felt very annoying to do. But now that this is a thing, I'm making good use of it essentially. And as you can see, we're currently well, we have 5 linked because I was trying life leech here, but I think I kind of rage quit from life leech being here or something like that. I wanted to try it here with Atalois. Again, we're testing a lot of different things. None of this is probably sticking, but bear with me. Anyways, I really want to fit life leech into this build because it will feel way better for defenses to have a bit of sustain for my life rather than just having to press life last is the thought process there. Anyways, that is why we went for life leech, and that's why we went for mana leech. And the reason mana leech on the weapon is actually important, I forgot to mention, is because this is a mana leech support gem, or it has the category mana leech. So you can't actually pair this skill with mana leech beside this. So you have to have other sources of mana leech to then convert this guy's physical damage leech as mana to elemental damage leech as mana. I hope that makes sense. So you need sources of leech elsewhere to then make this, to then turn that physical damage into elemental, and we're getting it from here. I hope that helps. But that's the TLDR of that. Other than this upgrade, everything else is pretty standard. I think my helmet is basically the same. We got a +2 with good life, and we found the most armor. This was a day 2-ish upgrade. It's been a while. We can do it. We can get a much better helmet at this point. Our gloves, we kind of crafted it. We got one that had good life and mana and level of all melee, and then we went from there. Actually, no, we got I think we got this as magic, and then we essenced one of the prefixes. I suspect we essenced the life because it's this. We got T1 mana, essenced the life, exalted the rarity, and then put on desecrated mod for armor applies to Ellie. And then belts is okay, nothing great. Boots, all of that, they're all kind of just straightforward. This one I got a +3 army. This was blue and I crafted it to where it is at currently. I still would like to change the modifiers I have here. However, as of when I crafted this, I didn't have the currency to continue. Now I do, but I don't feel like doing it yet. I don't want to spend the currency because like I have the money to spend. I'm not yet in T16 maps. I think or T15. I'm currently at T11s. I'm naturally progressing my way up, but because I've been busy since the week started, I haven't had the time to just send into T15 essentially. But as you guys have probably seen in the clips, we're clearing content all the same. And that about covers the gem section. This I plan on re-rolling that in that prefix until I get spirit. I think is what I'm hoping to do. Otherwise I might just buy a +3. We'll see what I decide to do. And then for the gem section, this is a bit, this has a lot of things that I guess might be placeholder, but I'll try to go over them as we see fit. And I'll also be linking my snapshot in my build spreadsheet, which is in the description. For one, we have pounds, still socketed with rapid attacks, feeding frenzy, 2 cold pen, early army, elemental armament, and minion mastery. We switched to scaling cold damage the moment we got our Batayer's Vengeance, like I said in the last video. So now Batayer's Vengeance is there to give us, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this also is on the max rage base. So that's where how we went from 73 to 85 max rage. Anyways, Batayer's Vengeance on max rate gives us 85% damage extra cold to us and our wolves. That combined with the 74 we get from our Lunar Blessing gives us, like, I want to say 155-ish. I don't want to do the math right now, but like thereabout, damage is extra cold. So we're doing way more cold damage than we're doing physical. And as such, it just makes more sense to scale the cold rather than the physical, because in this game, you can't really scale both unless you're using generic supports like Feeding Frenzy. And in the ideal universe, we use more generics, but we don't have the spirits in this setup to have like muster and have it be effective. So we're here. And then we use Minion Master as our last support, simply because it's an extra level. There wasn't really anything better. I don't particularly want to scale the physical damage. I want to scale the elemental, and this kind of scales both of them by adding an extra level. And I think it was the breakpoint I needed to get an extra level on pounds once upon a time. Anyways, moving on, we have cross slash, doesn't have any support. Ignore this, doesn't need to be in there. Arctic Howl, we've made Arctic Howl a 5-link or 4 supports gems, so you could fit Batayers. And the idea is, whenever you're clearing, your wolves that are priming enemies for freeze. So all you're really doing is you're going to use ultimates. It's going to keep repeating, and you're going to freeze somebody. And in that freeze, everybody gets big cold damages extra cold for 20 seconds. That is the general idea. If it doesn't work the first time, all you have to do is do it again. Now keep in mind, to bypass the cooldown, I didn't know it was a thing, but you just have to move around a set distance because of, I believe it's Echoing Cry. You have to move 10 meters for it to be usable again. So that's why he acted that way in my last video. Anyways, Batayer's Vengeance for the damage is extra cold. It's way more reliable than Lunar Assault. And for bosses, it makes it so when you freeze them, as soon as they get to 70 something, you get the bonus. But that being said, it's actually kind of hard to do it sometimes because your minions do so much damage that you just see the time it takes from your bosses to go from like 65% freeze build up to 100% is like literally 1 second. And if it's not currently like off cooldown, you know, you might miss the window. But in that case, it doesn't matter because the boss is probably dead anyways. And then we have Echoing Cry, so it repeats. We have Brittle Armor, so we can shred the armor of bosses as well as mobs while we're clearing. And then we have Enrich Cry, so we can skip the cooldown when necessary. And then we have Lunar Assault. Lunar Assault is a melee attack. Like I said, I'm trying to get this to be our source of leech right now. I haven't actually tested it, so this is hit or miss. We currently have Life Leech, Atalui's Bloodletting, and now in the ideal universe, I'm going to replace I'm going to get this 6 support gem. I'm going to use a support gem that actually increases the cost so that we can get more physics extra, and that combined with the physics extra from here and the not physics extra, damages extra phase. I mix it up with the damages extra phase from here and the Atalui's. I'm hoping that's enough to get the leech to feel really good. So like getting more life cost here is going to be very, very helpful. And in this case, this is also going to help that because it's also increased life cost of skill as well as regen for our minions. Oh, and I forgot, I switched this gem as well for this guy, which is a bit less AoE but way more presence AoE to counter the anoint I got, which is rage for my wolves. So now my wolves also have max rage basically. where were we? So that's kind of the idea, and now we just use rage tree to help generate rage for my batteries, vengeance, and for my ultimates. And then for my ultimates, we have second wind, so we have perma uptime money, we explained that earlier. We have prolonged duration, so it lasts longer. We have efficiency, so that we can reduce the cost a bit, because it got very, very expensive. Honestly, we might remove this for a damage support. I'm not entirely sure. We might. And then we have Olsen's Oath. This is the core. This could be potentially removed, and then we might end up doing with things here. Maybe I'll end up using Life Leech. Ataluis doesn't work here because the skill that's doing damage doesn't actually have a cost, so it doesn't actually skill anything, even though Lunar Blessing has decent life cost, before anyone says that. And then of course we have Eternal Rage, and because we have Spirit Reservation Efficiency, we were actually able to pick up Upwelling 1, because that only reserves 15 spirit. 2 reserves 30. I don't have 30 spirits to spare, so we have Eternal Rage with that. And that about covers the gem section. I think that about covers everything I wanted to talk about in this update video. Build is feeling very good. Oh, and then there was one more change. As of last patch, like last night's patch, that is kind of buggy with Ava Temple and everything. Wolves have how do I put this? They have phasing. They no longer body block each other. As you can see, they are very, very tight paths. So now we no longer have any clear issues whatsoever in tight maps. They are just running through, they are demolishing everything. This is the feeling we wanted on minions, and we finally have it on wolves. So that was a huge shadow buff to the build. I don't know why it wasn't in the patch notes, but I love the change. Please don't be a bug, and please don't remove it, GG. Even if it is a bug, let us have it, I beg you. So that was another very big buff, if you will, to the setup. But yeah, that about covers everything I wanted to talk about. If you haven't already, do consider liking and subscribing. It helps me out a lot. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And with all that said, thank you for watching.